Good evening, I'm Karl Stefanovic. This is The Verdict. Please welcome our panellists. Former Labor leader Mark Latham, Federal Senator Jackie Lambie, one-time political advisor, now online editor Jamila Rizvi, AFL Premiership winner Campbell, political author Anne Henderson, and psychologist Sandy Ray. It's Thursday night across Australia and this is The Verdict. Tonight, Australia on high alert. How do we stop the bloodshed? Are we overdiagnosing mental illness? What can our politicians take from Donald Trump? And should sports stars guilty of a crime be allowed back on the field? Welcome to the show. Good to have your company, and we want you to join the conversation on Facebook or on Twitter using the hashtag #TheVerdict. They'll be posted live throughout the program. Well, it was an attack in Sydney's heartland that was so random and pointless, it scared us and it broke our hearts. Curtis Chang, a 58-year-old loving father of two, leaving work, murdered, shot at point-blank range. The horrific crime was made more shocking when we discovered the killer was a 15-year-old, Fahad Jabbar, 15 years of age. So how does a teenager become a terrorist and how do we prevent another attack? Joining our panellists for this week's big issue is counter-terrorism expert Dr. Anne Ali. Please welcome Anne. However, before we get to Anne, Mark Latham, you're first up. How do we stop this? Where is the problem?
Well, Karl, it's a problem that's been a long time coming. It started in the 1980s with family reunion or unskilled Muslim migration to Western Sydney. Whole or large parts of suburbs have got welfare dependency problems. And it pains me to say, in Western Sydney, there is a Muslim problem. After Man Monis, who came from Western Sydney after the shooting last week, we have to recognise this is not just radical Islamic ideology, it's also people with too much time on their hands, too many opportunities to sit around in groups bitching about Western culture, bitching about the American president, bitching about the Australian Prime Minister, and getting up to no good. So the best thing the federal government can do is get these people out to work, break down the welfare dependency in Western Sydney. And in many ways, it's not just the question of stopping radicalisation, it's how do we promote normality, normalisation in Western Sydney so people are making a positive contribution to society.
And you're a counter-terrorism expert. Now, what do you think of what Mark just said then?
Well, what I've just heard from Mark is a range of very simplistic strings of answers that are always rolled out every time something like this happens without any understanding of the complexity of the situation.
Well, you can say that coming from Perth.
And with all due respect, do you work with these young people? I work with the young people who have been radicalised or are becoming radicalised in Perth and in Sydney and in Sydney and in Sydney. It is not a socio-economic problem. You have young people who are becoming radicalised from all stratas of society. It is not a socio-economic problem. It is not a problem that is a Muslim problem of Western Sydney. It is not a Muslim Western Sydney problem. It is a social problem that is embedded in a range of social issues. And what we're seeing now is not what we saw 10 years ago. It's a rapidly changing environment. It's a rapidly trending and transforming environment. And we cannot continue to rely on those one-liners that we were using 10 years ago to explain things 10 years ago. We need to take a much more comprehensive look at what's happening here and not fall back on these simplistic one-liners.
They're not stereotypes, it's reality. And if you talk to the federal police and the spy agencies, most of their activity is taken up listening in and trying to infiltrate these groups. They've got too much time on their hands, up to no good, driven by the radical ideology.
Can I say something?
And that's a big part of the problem.
We're just talking about Sydney, Australia, Perth, whatever. We are the tail of the beast. This is a huge international network, not unlike international communism that was trying to bring down democratic society through the 30s and 40s. And Julie Bishop put it very well in a very strongly worded speech, which Malcolm Turnbull should read in April this year, that it's a new and a virulent form and it changes all the time. It's like a medical bug that is constantly re-engaging, and it's now working on very young people. And what it is very much like Bill Shorten said the other day, that what we've got in our midst are older people preying now on younger people.
Absolutely
They are preying on younger people, and they are like pedophiles prey on younger people. And as a Catholic, And I feel that the Muslim community have got to be much stronger on this. Whenever we have a disaster, the first thing they do is say, oh, everyone's picking on us. Well, we're not picking on you. Like a Catholic, I don't say everyone's picking on me
when
because...
When was the last time you went and spoke to the
we'll
Muslim community and they said that to you?
Jackie, you've been deep breathing since we came on air. What would you like to say?
Look, I tell you, there's 600,000 youth unemployed around Australia, OK? Why aren't we bringing back national service, a trade and apprenticeship scheme? OK, there's other countries that run it. Right, let's get productive. Instead of bitching at each other, let's find some answers here. That's one thing I'm putting on the table to Turnbull. OK, we need to get these kids and we need to get them work. We need to reinstall their morals and grassroots and their values. I think the second question that we need to ask, and it needs to be asked, is that young boy, he was in a mosque 15 minutes beforehand. OK, we have no idea where that weapon's come from. We know he's been in that mosque and he showed up at that mosque many times before that. I want to know whether those people in that mosque, whether they're the imams or whether they're the preachers, have they been, have they been put through their paces, basically? Have they been interrogated? Because let's face it,
we do have to let authorities handle that, though, Jackie. But how does a 15-year-old get recruited?
Well, that's what I want to know.
Well,
so we're going straight back to the mosque. I want to know what a 15-year-old boy...
It's not about the community. It's not just about the
communities
and
families.
Julie
Bishop that have been arrested.
It is not just about the... Wait a moment, Anne, and let me have my say. It is not just about the communities and parents.
Off the internet.
It is not just about the communities and parents.
Hang on a second.
How do you know that? Did the police...
It's not even about the communities and parents in this situation.
It was done in Australia,
we need to allow whoever's talking at the moment, and that is you, just to let them speak for just a little while and we can move on.
ISIS have an ability to use the internet, and what's happened in the last 10 years, that's the difference. Technology and communication are the difference. And it's exactly what you said at the start, Anne, in that we are interconnected now. So young people aren't just being influenced by the local imam or their parents or their communities. These messages are coming online. You can be in a hole in your bedroom, hiding out and being influenced by someone on the other side of the globe. The partners for the Australian government in this prevention space, and I'm not talking about the punishment space because that's different, but in the prevention space is working with community leaders and working with families to say, how do we stop...
That's just empty rhetoric. What does that mean in practice, working? That's something politicians say, and I'll tell you what, it doesn't count for a row of crackers. It doesn't count for a can of beans. Working is... What does that mean in practice?
What did Father Chris Riley say? Chris Riley has been working with abandoned teenagers,
Muslims has been working with the Muslims in Western Sydney. Hold the problem?
And
no. But with respect, he has been working with Muslims. He says there are push and pull factors for young Muslims.
Yes,
the push is racism, and the pull is extremism.
Absolutely.
And so they're nestled in between all of that. They're losing young Muslim men. Campbell, what do you think?
I think the Australian government have gone out of their way to try and not make this about religion, and they're treating us like fools. It clearly is religion. I heard Malcolm Turnbull, Julia Bishop say it's politically motivated. And I'm not sure about you, but if you're going down the street killing people, yelling out Allah Akbar, I don't see him running for the Prime Minister of this country.
Okay, Sandy Ray, from a psychological point of view, how do you stop young kids getting attracted to this?
Okay, Julie Bishop made a really important point, and she said families are the front line of defence.
Exactly.
When you find bad behaviour, when you find dysfunctional behaviour, when you find antisocial behaviour, the first port of call is to look what's going on in the family. There's two things that I don't think have been properly discussed. One is, first of all, the overarching question is, why are these young 15, 16-year-olds so vulnerable? Well, first of all, they are adolescents. What are the three functions of developmental psychology for adolescents? One is their sense of identity. They're discovering who they are, what they are, etc., etc. One is sexual identity. And the third is independence. As a result of that, we know developmentally, their developmental trajectory, their pathway, is to engage in risky behaviour, moodiness, disconnect from their family. So that's one part of the psychology of these children.
What I did to rebel was throw a house party when my parents went out have a cigarette. I didn't go out there and murder an innocent person or join up with ISIS and try and behead people.
But the word and the order coming from ISIS is to go out and do these lone wolf killings. And the boy did use the internet, but he also was influenced by his companions. He got the gun from those who couldn't do it themselves because they were already under the investigation of the police. So they used him as a dupe. He was completely, just like a paedophile acts on a young person, he was completely groomed, he was completely used as an instrument of their evil, and he killed the policeman.
This whole idea that they're groomed like pedophiles.
He was groomed.
They have agency. Whether you like it or not, this 15-year-old kid made choices. He had choices. And I've spoken to dozens of former terrorists, and they all tell me the same thing. They all take responsibility. They all say, I made a choice.
Okay,
on
well,
the
that's
internet,
the first step.
these young people are the ones who are reaching out to somebody, whether it's to help them travel or to help them get a gun or whatever it is they want to do.
What are the mosques doing?
They're harbouring
the radicals.
To ignore the fact that these young people have agency in this, then how do we treat it?
Well,
how do
first
we
of all,
deal
you
with
do
that?
know someone in your mosque.
We do have to leave it there. We want the discussion to continue, and no doubt it will continue in the break.
They turned on the country that gave them their
Okay, look,
refuge.
Searching for
Okay,
No, they don't report it.
It's no use everyone talking over each other. Anyway, that is how heated the debate is right across Australia, and that's why it's here on The Verdict. It's a complex but important discussion. Please thank Dr. Anne Alley for being with us tonight. Thank you, Doctor. And a little bit later, Jackie Lambie talks about the fears she has for her own personal safety. Interesting one. But now, a change of pace. Check out the man who could be the next president of the United States.
I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. But it's political. But we have people that are stupid. Nobody would be tougher on ISIS than Donald Trump.
Well, believe it or not, billionaire tycoon and reality TV star Donald Trump is still leading the Republican race for America's top job. He could be the prez. It's easy to dismiss Trump as a publicity-seeking flash in the pan, but he is no fool. And remember, it's America. Anything's possible. All right, Mark Latham, we can learn a lot from Donald Trump, can we?
Well, Karl, I love the Donald. I love the Donald. He's against political correctness.
Yeah.
He gives the political media a good spray when they need it, which is most of the time. He's authentic. You get the feeling that's the real deal. I mean, Australian politics has become a joke. We've had 5 Prime Ministers in 5 years. It's dominated by spin and hatchet men and a feral media environment. At least Trump is out there being himself, which I find very refreshing. And if I was an American, I'd even be tempted to vote for him.
But hang on.
Hang on. That's quite the endorsement.
Hang on.
So he's finished now. That's the end of the Donald. He's a Gonski.
I'm a little bit concerned because there's been some research that talks about corporate psychopaths.
Yeah.
And the fact that you identify with him.
They run the world. They run the world.
High grandiosity, low empathy.
Okay.
Yeah, well, Sandy, you've got too much
describes a lot
research
of
and
our
not enough common sense. Just judge the Donald. Just judge the Donald.
No,
by
seriously,
what you see.
that is
No
a
one
serious
likes that
point.
one.
That is a serious point.
I understand it's a serious point. Jamila, you'd be a fan of Donald, no doubt?
No, other than the amazing hair and my wish to one day be on The Apprentice. I think in this situation, the word authentic is actually code for just brazenly being a bit of an asshole, and apparently that's supposed to be refreshing. The fact...
hang on a second. He's stood up for women across the country.
But when they've got their periods.
Yeah, when they've got their periods and they're being a little bit grumpy and we get
There
testy.
you go.
We get testy.
There you
we
go.
get testy.
You're letting it all out now.
What can we learn from Donald Trump? I think we can learn that when people do a ring around for opinion polls, we can learn that the person they say they're going to vote for is generally the one whose name they already know.
Oh,
And
people
God,
are
let it be
stupid.
only
You
that.
assume
Let it
people are
only be
stupid,
that.
You like him?
I don't
You
assume
talk
people
right
are
down to them.
stupid
You
at
talk down to
all,
people
Mark.
saying they only vote according to someone's
at least
name.
I'd be
Maybe
talking
they're
down to
listening to
everyone
what the
and not
guy's
just
got to
working
say.
with
Okay,
them,
let
which
me-
is more your
talking
take.
down
Let
to
me
them.
ask Jackie.
The elitist
This
left.
is the serious part of Donald
Shocking.
Trump, I believe.
Shocking.
And that is that we have lost, and Mark raises a good point, we have lost faith in our political parties, in the more mainstream parties. So someone like a Donald Trump comes along, vis-a-vis, e.g. Jackie Lambie comes along, or years ago Pauline Hanson, and they get votes because people feel disenfranchised from the main parties. Jackie, you're up.
Yeah, I don't think that's the only reason why. But listen, America's a land of opportunity for all, Karl, and Americans are very forgiving. So I have to say this, it shows that a guy with too much money, not enough hair and a big mouth and half a brain can go a long way. And I can tell you, not so long ago, I knew a man like that in politics, and I'll tell you what, I'm glad I got up and left.
Oh.
Poor
Who was
Clive.
that?
Poor old dinosaur copped it then.
Yeah, didn't he?
Can I just say that the real thing working...
No one knows how to react to that. Okay, she's talking about Clive Palmer.
When they've got way too much money and they don't
Yeah, but he got you into Parliament.
Do you know what?
You wouldn't be sitting here now if it wasn't for
Excuse
Clive.
me, I was
You
out
should
there
say
for 2
thank you and then bag him.
years. Just a
You
minute,
didn't get
I was
him
out there for
thank
2
you and then bag
years.
him.
Do you know what? I was out there for 2 years being an independent, thank you. So get your facts straight. That'll be the first thing. I worked hard to get where I got, Mark. So
Clive's
you know
money.
what? I didn't have a big political machine over top of me.
Oh, well.
And it was
That's
only in that
mania.
last 6 weeks that Clive Palmer come through, and that was with some ads
that was
in the
enough.
paper and on TV.
I can't remember the last time I actually watched a politician talk and I thought they were telling the truth. They stand there, they
And
lie
it's all rehearsed.
blatantly to the cameras. It's all rehearsed. It's all stage managed.
There's one hitting you on the table right now,
Yeah,
Jackie.
that's right. And you know what, though?
Yes, but this one doesn't have $1 billion, mate. That's the difference.
They backstab for personal gain, and they're meant to be out there representing us, the people. I wish that our politicians would try and make this country great again instead of turning into a rebel.
All right, on that note, coming up, the final verdict moment that's sure to divide our panellists. Whose side will you be on? Plus, next, coming up on the verdict, Mark Latham takes on mental illness. Should sports stars guilty of a crime be allowed back on the field? The controversial American fighting to enter Australia. His first interview when the verdict continues in just a minute.
Sean lost both his arms to a great white shark. His mates promised him he'd surf again. They made him 2 special paddles.
Nervous? A little bit.
On 60 Minutes, the moment he gets back in the water. And come on the road with Cold Chisel, Australia's favourite rockers.
We wanted to prove a point.
60 Minutes, Sunday, 8:30.
We see pluses. Home, health, wealth, all pluses. Friends, family, love. There's another big plus in the world. You. You plus the opportunities you create. You plus the action you take. You plus the future that's yours and yours alone. Host Plus, your industry super fund.
Cooling off just got colourful at Hungry Jack's. With 5 frozen flavours, all large and all just $1.
Get rid of old-fashioned phone line rental and enjoy 1,000 gigs of great broadband with iiNet Naked for only $79.99 a month. Yeah, so good.
Spend $200 on genuine Colorbond steel for your home and you could buy a new car. Or maybe a boat. Aye, Captain. See Australia. Kangaroo? No, wallaby. See the world. Because in the Colorbond genuine promotion, you could win a massive $100 grand. But remember, if it's not genuine, you can't genuine.
They got our guy, our spy pilot. We got their spy. We want you to negotiate the swap.
From Steven Spielberg.
Where do they want this negotiation?
East Berlin.
We need to have the conversation our governments can't.
Things have started to fall apart.
Just tell me that you're not going to be in any danger.
Starring Tom Hanks.
This is an act of war.
The next mistake our governments make could be the last one.
Bridge of Spies in cinemas October 22.
Pilot didn't make it.
Allen's makes families smile.
What do you think?
It's beautiful.
Not too short?
You're kidding. Perfect.
Thank you, sweetie.
If you want the best lawn fertiliser, it must be Mums, the lawn care specialist since 1948.
During the BMW X-Drive, you can take advantage of free on-roads across a select range of BMW X vehicles. It's time to start living with more X and less Y. Arrange a test drive before November 30.
This program brought to you by Swinburne Online. With support 7 days a week, you're never alone.
It's a good crowd. Welcome back. Each week on the show, we'll give one of our panellists a platform to say whatever they want within some sort of reason. It's Mental Health Week, though. Mark Latham, you've got something to get off your chest this evening.
Well, it is Awareness Week, and unfortunately one of the things of which we need to be aware in the mental health industry is the problem of over-servicing and rorting. 10% of Australians are on antidepressants, but only 2% have got clinical depression. The other 8% are under the banner of anxiety, what we used to call worrying too much. You look at the disability support pension, a third of it now is made up by people claiming mental health. So the system has too many rorts. Senior academics like Ian McGregor at the Sydney University have said that they're handing out antidepressants like lollies. There's no doubt across society there is too much over-servicing and rorting in this sector. Let's devote the resources to the people who need it, the 2% with clinical depression, and as for the others, there's a lot of savings government can make at many levels.
OK, Mark Latham, that is the panellist platform, according to him. Sandy, you're a psychologist. Is there any clinical evidence to support what Mark's saying?
I think at best Mark's argument is chaotic and fractured. I think it's a really disorganised argument. You've interchanged the terminologies. You've misused mental health and mental illness. You haven't really succinctly defined the difference between anxiety and anxiety disorder. There is no evidence, well, equally, are we talking about patients who are malingering? And I don't doubt for 1 second there are some patients who have, I guess, mental health issues who malinger. No different to some patients.
That's the point.
But not the point.
And hopefully you don't write out scripts for them.
Well, psychologists don't write out scripts.
You do make money out of this industry, don't you?
No, I don't.
You don't?
I make a living and I don't write scripts.
You make money.
See, this is where you're not actually informed. Because a psychiatrist...
I'm independent, I'm not making money out of this, you are.
Psychiatrists write out scripts.
That's the difference.
Psychologists don't write out scripts, for a start. 5 million people in Australia suffer from mental disorders or mental ill health every year. So your argument is it about the poor diagnostic skills of doctors who are the ones who write out the scripts, or is your argument about public feigning mental illness? What are you actually talking about?
You've got a third of the disability support pension people saying they've got mental issues. What you've got is headaches replacing backaches at Centrelink, and it's a major rorting problem in our society. And you should face up to that.
No.
Jacqui, is there any truth to it?
One-third.
I spent 10 years in that zone, and I can tell you sometimes they were over-medicating me, and I've seen them doing it to the veterans out there, and it is really, really sad. I do believe in psychologists, and I've been very honest, I still go to one. I've been to the same one for 15 years and he's great. I use alternative therapies. I stay right off the drugs, from the pharmaceutical drugs now, and that's the best thing I ever did. I did that 4 years ago and went cold turkey, and I'm grateful. And I think that there's other methods out there that people should be trying, and I really encourage them to do that. I know it's a really fine medium, but there's different mental illnesses, like you said, you know, there's schizophrenia, there's bipolar, and you know, they're terrible, they're debilitating illnesses to people, and there's PTSD out there, and I'm very aware of that, and one size does not fit all.
In what way were you overprescribed, and did you allow it to happen, or did the doctor allow it to happen? How did all that work?
I think it just gets into a really vicious rut, because I suffered chronic pain, and so therefore that, you know, that went into depression and major depression, and you know, I was on tablets for the pain itself, and then you're obviously on more tablets for major depression and depression.
Vicious cycle.
And then you know, it's either drug and alcohol abuse that goes on to that, and then you're more prescribed drugs, and it's just, you know, there's got to be better methods. And I think the other thing is, it's like a young girl said to me about 3 months ago. She walked into my office, she said, "I've just got one question for you, Senator." She said, "I want to know why we have sex ed in grade 6 and 7, but we don't have any mental illness education, early intervention."
Campbell, of late, in the last couple of weeks, there have been a number of sporting greats who have come out and said it's a problem. And we know that Buddy Franklin, who's a mate of yours and mine as well, have come out saying they have mental illness. It's something to be respected. How do you think we move forward in the sporting arena, and how do young men move forward, trying to keep a handle on it all?
Yeah, I think what you're saying, Mark, there could be some people out there that are feigning it or trying to use it to get medication, but it's extremely insensitive because unless you've walked in people's shoes, you're not exactly sure what they're going through. And there's there's Are You OK Day, there's Mental Health Week. Now there's a platform for people to actually talk about it, whereas 10, 15 years ago, you called mentally weak and no one would say boo about it. And I think there's a lot of pressure in today's society, financially, school, family, all these sorts of things. I reckon it's great that people are actually finally, talking about it, and I would much prefer them to go see someone get maybe over-medicated or over-prescribed and be one of those statistics than be ushered out the door saying, you'll be right, mate, we won't need to give you anything, and they go and commit suicide, which is something that happens to a friend of mine.
It's a really good point, really good point. And Jamila, from a young woman's perspective, a lot of young women are suffering out there, aren't they?
Yeah, in particular from anxiety when it comes to young women. That tends to be the most prevalent of mental illnesses. But I think what we need to remember is mental illness isn't a new thing. Mental illness has been around forever, the same as any other kind of illness.
Talking about it.
We used to just call it something else. We used to say melancholy, or as you say, it was something that was talked about in hushed tones, or you tried to pretend it didn't exist. We have this opportunity now where we're having a dialogue about it, and that includes a dialogue about treatment, Mark. But I think just saying you're overprescribed and that's a problem and everyone's faking is not fair. What we should be doing well, I think people are different. Some people are going to benefit from seeing a psychologist. Exercise. Some people are going to benefit from medication. Some are going to benefit from more exercise and the endorphins that come with that. It's about the treatment plan that works for the patient. But when you're out there saying medication is a disaster and you're this and you're that, you make people who are already stigmatised, those suffering from mental illness.
Don't misrepresent what I say. Don't misrepresent what I say. Come on. Okay. What I've talked about is over-servicing, and experts have talked about that. You're an expert in misrepresenting what people actually say.
All right, and again, a wonderful topic for everyone to be debating right around the country. If this topic's raised personal concerns for you, or if you need any help, call Lifeline on 13 11 14. That's 13 11 14. And don't forget, join the conversation on Facebook or on Twitter using hashtag The Verdict. Your comments are being posted live throughout the show, so get into it. Well, we've still got midnight rugby and the round ball game, but our two biggest footy codes have wound up for the year. But for some players, they still don't have a contract for next season. Some of those being considered, including St George's Russell Packer, jailed after stomping on an unconscious man's head, hoping for a second chance. In his case, he has completed several programs as part of his rehabilitation. Campbell, should sports people who are convicted of a crime be allowed back on the field?
Why'd you come to me with
well,
this?
Because
I wonder.
Because you seem to have experience in that.
Depending what the crime is, I think you need to treat every case individually. If they're of minor things, drink driving, things like that, absolutely. Actions have consequences. They're normal.
You took my line.
Sorry about that. they're normal people in society. If you do the wrong thing, well, then you need to face up to it. But I think if we're going to be fair dinkum as a society about combating things like domestic violence and rape and things like that, I wouldn't want to be a teammate of someone that had got convicted of doing that.
Mark, you're a St George fan. What do you think?
Well, why has sports punishment got to be greater than society's punishment? If someone's paid their price, they've done their time, they're rehabilitated, why not a second chance in sport? The media is giving people a second chance all the time. Right throughout society, people get a second chance, but the media plays this game with sports people to build them up as so-called role models, only to tear them down later on. I think if someone's paid their price according to society's rules, they're allowed to get on and make an earning, make a living, and Russell Packer should be allowed to play for the Dragons and make his living just like anyone else in society.
There's personal responsibility, though, is there not? And also the fact that these people are looked up to in society. So should they not have more to answer for?
Well, people in the media are looked up to, but if everyone had to be a role model saint, there'd be no one left. No one left on this panel, no one left on the footy show, no one left in any sporting event. This is a double standard that's applied to sports people grossly unfairly.
I would have to agree with that. I mean, we've had successful novelists who've been serial killers in jail in Tasmania and they've gone on the media and no one's ever remembered. I mean, if they're really, really criminal, they will be in jail. They won't be able to play, and these young men don't have very long for their career. So if they're locked up for a few years or whatever and done, as Mark says, done their time, and they're still pretty good on the field and the club wants them, I can't see any reason not to. They can also be an example of how you recover, how you reform.
But the one thing that really frustrates me is players getting stepped down before the legal process has been thoroughly gone through. And there's, in Australia, there's meant to be innocent until proven guilty. Well, now if a player goes out there and does something wrong, to appease sponsors and members and the governing body, They're stepped down for 4, 5, 6 weeks, however long it is.
Inquiry,
They go through the legal process, they get cleared, like what happened to some of the Gold Coast Titan boys just yesterday, and the damage is already done because the public presume that they're guilty.
Okay, so Jamila, for you and from your perspective, if, say for example, a footy player is convicted of a domestic violence incident, should they be rubbed out for their whole career, or should they just do their time and then be allowed back onto the field?
I think it has to be up to the individual club and the individual code and the message they want to send. As Mark just said before...
But shouldn't you just say, listen, if you perform or you commit an act of domestic violence, you're out?
Yeah, and if I was president of a football club, that would be the rule for my club. If it was me making the decision, it would be there are certain crimes where not okay. I don't want you on my team. I don't want the rest of my team having to play with you. This is a family game. I want families to join up. I want kids playing this sport, and I'm going to send a message this isn't okay. But in terms of what Mark said about paying the debt to society, that's got to happen. I think that's right. And then it's up to the code or the team to say this is what we are and aren't okay with. And I hope more of them are saying we're not okay with having people who have committed crimes against women, violent crimes, on our team.
Let's hope so. Well, thank you all. Still to come. The first interview with the controversial American kicked out of Australia. Now, his plan to come back, and soon the panellists deliver their final verdict. But up next, the fight on terror for Jackie Lambie. This one's personal.
Good evening. Auburn's Deputy Mayor has been charged by police accused of intimidating the father of a Sydney siege survivor. Federal police have been given more time to question the teen terror suspect linked to the Parramatta shooting. 3 Gold Coast Titans players have been ordered to stand trial on drugs charges. And the new A-League season has officially kicked off with the Wanderers hosting Brisbane Roar at Pertec Stadium. More news later.
Shopping will never be the same. Spend less, save more, grab bargains, find freebies. The shopping revolution. Tomorrow on Today.
Good evening, viewers. From the Harbour Bridge to Hollywood. That's a knife. A premiere special. The real story of Australia's most famous larrikin. What are you doing? You can't grape a princess. Hoax one night only. Coming up next on 9.
If I was a flower gone wild and free, all I want is you to be my sweet honeybee. And if I was a tree growing tall and green, all I want is you to shade me and be my leaves. All I want is you, will you be my bride? Take me by the hand and stand by my side. All I want is you, will you stay with me? Hold me in your arms and swim me like the sea.
The small and epic Hyundai i30. From 19,990, drive away.
We at Supercoat understand that small dogs have unique needs. So, the team have created a new Supercoat range, specifically formulated for small breed dogs. It's made to measure nutrition with smaller kibble for small mouths and the goodness of real meat. Plus, no artificial colours or flavours. Because a healthy dog is a happy dog. For complete and balanced nutrition, I recommend the Supercoat Small Breed Dog range.
Purina, your pet, our passion.
Women have stopped doing simple things because they're wearing the wrong product for light bladder leakage. Poise with super absorbent material is up to 2 times more absorbent than period liners. Stop compromising and start reclaiming at poise.com.au.
For generations, our family has craft brewed Bundaberg ginger beer to taste better. Now, we craft a range of the finest brews. Find them all in the classic Bundaberg bottle.
Just want simple health cover? Say hello to Bupa Simple Start. It's a different idea in health insurance that you can only get at Bupa. Sure, you get basic hospital cover, but here's the good bit. You'll be covered for a set number of included extra services, like your annual dental checkup and physio or chiro visits when you see a Members First healthcare provider. Know what value you're getting from the start. Get Bupa Simple Start. It's just the cover to get you started.
Perfume Wars, our investigation into the grey market engulfing Sydney cosmetic counters. We show you the real deals. Plus, Bob Jane just won't retire. Now he's about to become Australia's new king of insurance, and he's out to save you a buck.
Bob's back.
A current affair tomorrow.
Across Australia, this is The Verdict. It is good to have your company. Well, since Jackie Lambie came onto the political scene, she has been a lightning rod. Everybody has an opinion about the senator from Tasmania. Some criticise her for what they see as grandstanding and fear-mongering. Others feel she's the voice of the people. Her heartfelt admission about her family's battle with ice addiction won the sympathy of the country, but her outspoken views about Islamic extremists led to death threats. Earlier this year, she received a letter saying this: "When you are least prepared, my men and I will take your office by surprise. And shut your mouth and do as I say, or else the bloodshed will worsen." It also contained grotesque photos that included a beheading. Well, Jackie, at the time, you spoke about this in Parliament, but tonight you can reveal what the federal police and other agencies have confirmed, that this was not a fake, this was a legitimate threat.
Yeah, that's correct, Carl. Yeah, it was a legitimate a threat. So I don't know how much further that's actually gone, but, you know, I can't let it be a distraction. That's the first thing. And this is, you know, I'm a born and bred Australian, and I'm really proud of that. And I'm even prouder because I'm a born and bred Tasmanian, and I'm certainly not going to let this stop me from doing what needs to be done.
Generally speaking, the police say don't come out and alert anyone to the fact that you've had a threat because it can lead to more, and there are other safety issues surrounding this sort of thing. But how has it affected you? How has it affected your staff and your family?
Well, first of all, with the police, they can say whatever they like, but I tell you what, I'm not tolerating that sort of behaviour. That's the first thing. It did take its toll on my office. I do have a couple of young girls working in there, and I think it scared them. I think by the way that we've been able to handle it in the office and take them through with us is that they're quite relaxed with that now. We've had extra safety procedures put inside the office. We'd had shatterproof glass that's now been done in the office, yeah, which is great. So that's made the girls feel a lot safer inside the office, and we've also upgraded our security measures. I'm really grateful those girls have been able to work their way through it, and they have had some psychological help along the way, which is great, but they seem to be on their way now, and we're just getting on with it because we're very wary. You can't come inside the office, you've got to press a button. Those sort of things have been put in place. So if it makes them feel safe, then I'm grateful for that. As for me, it won't stop me from doing what I need to do, and that means, you know, I had a threat. The biggest threat was not to go anywhere near South Australia. Well, you know what? You're not stopping me from going into any state in Australia or territory. Like I said, I'm an Australian, and I'll be going where I bloody well want to go, and that's full stop.
The problem here, Jackie, as you would know, is that what they try and do is they try and affect, in some way inhibit your way of life. They have been successful to an extent in that regard, haven't they, in terms of the security that you've now got? Do you feel vulnerable?
I think that, you know, if I was to let them scare me, that would be letting them start to take over my life, and that would start to stop me doing what I believe is the best to do. And honestly, I think after 10.5 years in the armed forces and that being army, I've got plenty of army mates around me, and you know what, the last thing I'm going to be doing is showing any fear of those low-life bastards. I'll be honest right now. No way in hell.
Why do they tell you not to go to South Australia?
That they believe that's where the letter may originated from, and so it's probably preferable if I don't go to South Australia. But you know, I have a job to do, and that job needs to be done. And like I said, just get out of my way because I'm coming through.
All right, so South Australia, here you come. Why did you decide to go public with all of this?
Well, I think to let them know that the people that wrote the letter or orchestrated what was going on, to let them know is that I'm not putting up with their behaviour, and no Australian should have to put up with that, full stop, and I have no fear of them, okay? I will not have any fear, not in my country.
You have a new political party. If a young Muslim woman came to you and said, I want to be inside your party, I want to represent your party, would you allow them?
Well, you know, that would have to be, obviously we'll be looking at what credentials and that they have, but they'll be treated like anybody else that puts in a resume.
Would you allow a Muslim woman to be in your party?
Well, absolutely I would. If they've integrated into the Australian system properly and they follow the Australian law and the Australian Constitution and they don't follow Sharia law, then I'm happy to do that. That's fine. And I'll accept anybody in. It doesn't matter what religion or what race. Anybody is welcome into the next network if they've got what we're looking for.
Would you accept Clive Palmer? Jackie Lambie, everyone. And as always, she's being brutally honest. How do you all say about all these topics on Facebook or Twitter using the hashtag The Verdict? The tweets are being broadcast live throughout the show. Soon, the panellists deliver their final verdict on this week's big issues. Will you agree with them? But after the break, the first interview with the controversial American who was just kicked out of Australia. He has a lot to say, so do our panellists right after this. That is.
Monday.
I hereby grant custody.
The season finale that will shock Australia.
You're actually the last person I need around right now.
And who will do
Where is she? What? Angie, she's missing.
the unthinkable.
Do you know where Rodney is?
House Husbands, the season final, Monday after the block.
I guess a lot's changed since we first shared our story. I lost 45 kilos with Light and Easy, and now it's all about convenience for me and our family. It means I can fuel my body, and then I can go out and chase after my son, chase after my husband, and just enjoy life as a busy, active mum. Light and Easy is sustainable, and it's common sense. When you see the food come into your home, it's like an aha moment that you really understand what you should have been eating all along to live a healthy life.
If you're 30 or over, switch to a Coles comprehensive car insurance policy. And if you need to make a claim during your first year of cover, we'll keep you on the road with free unlimited car hire up to $50 a day. Get your little red quote today.
The Freedom Sale is now on, so you can love coming home to a fresh spring update with stylish savings for every room. Hurry in store or online and save up to 40% now at Freedom. Love coming home.
You know that person. The one who seizes the day. Shines full of life. Never stops inspiring. They're a force of nature. At Nature's Own, we search the world for potent ingredients. Because nature can be a powerful force for your health. And we want to help everyone get the strength they need to be a force of nature. Join us and discover their stories at naturesown.com.au.
At Rivers, women's wedges are now $20. Lightweight and made for comfort with lots of styles to suit you for just $20. Find your perfect pair. On now at Rivers.
Tic Tac, it's the little things. Now available in new Apple Battle.
Right now at Holden,
you'll get free servicing right up until 2020.
across a great range of vehicles, like this one.
So that new car feeling is going to last a whole lot longer.
Just think of the huge savings you'll enjoy on top of already great drive-away prices with Holden's free servicing until 2020. Get that new car feeling for longer. See the range of great offers at holden.com today.
Don't miss out.
Shopping will never be the same. Spend less, save more, grab bargains, find freebies. The shopping revolution. Tomorrow on Today.
Well, that is rapper Chris Brown, who is currently preparing an appeal after his visa to enter Australia was denied because of a domestic violence conviction in 2009. We all know about that. Well, tonight, free speech is once again under the spotlight as our government decides whether to allow Geert Wilders an anti-Islamic politician into Australia. It comes only days after controversial American anti-abortion activist Troy Newman was tossed out of the country. So by banning these people, is our government protecting Australians or stopping free speech? In a moment, our panellists will weigh in, but let's start with the man in the middle of all this, Troy Newman. In his first interview, Troy Newman, here's some of what he had to say to me earlier. Troy, thanks for your time. You were kicked out of the country for your extreme views on abortions. Why should you be allowed back in?
Well, I don't mean to contradict you right off the bat, but my views on abortion are not extreme. In fact, they're mainstream. They align more with the Roman Catholic Church and the majority of Americans, and I believe Australians, that believe that abortion, particularly in the later gestational ages, is a very savage act of violence that needs to be stopped.
Your language is provocative, to say the very least. So in your book, you say you call for the US government to execute abortion providers. Execute abortion providers. Is it any wonder the Australian government doesn't want you here?
Well, you take a 300-page book, which is a theological expose on murder itself, and you boil it down to 3 or 4 words. That's completely out of context. What they're not talking about when you look at my book
with respect,
is the
maybe
mercy,
you could explain
the
this
love, the grace of
Perhaps
Jesus
you could
Christ.
explain
That's
this.
the crux of the argument.
Just before you go on,
the first part of the book and negate the latter part.
You quote in the book, the United States government has abrogated its responsibility to properly deal with the blood guilty. This is more than 3 words. This responsibility rightly involves executing convicted murderers, including abortionists. It's pretty straightforward what you're trying to say.
Well, again, that quote in the larger context is the United States does have the death penalty for various sorts of crime, including capital murder. And if we're going to take that line, then that's the position that should be consistent across the board.
Just to clarify, you don't think abortionists should have capital punishment or should be murdered?
No.
Let's talk about freedom of speech then. You're currently being broadcast across the nation. What would you like to say to Australian Immigration Minister Peter Dutton, who revoked your visa?
Mr. Dutton, you're wrong. You're wrong that we do not advocate for violence. You're wrong to suppress the freedom of speech. It's clearly politically motivated. One of your MPs sent a letter to Peter Dutton expressly asking that my visa be denied.
OK, that's Troy Newman. Big round of applause. OK, you're first up, Campbell.
Well, I think maybe if his mother had decided to have an abortion, she would have saved a whole lot of headaches. Pretty simple. He's an extremist.
Don't worry about that, folks. That'll get cut out. Mark, what do you think?
Well, Troy Newman's in the country, isn't he? We live in the global village and he's on Channel 9 tonight, so he's got a far bigger platform now than if he was allowed to quietly come into the country, address a few right-to-life meetings and then go home.
That's freedom of speech, though, isn't it?
It is, exactly. And he shouldn't have been banned in this country in the first place because the self-appointed moral guardians and censors, what they assume here is that the public, the audience, is too stupid to make their own judgment about that man's words. And talking down to the public is no answer. It's just a whole bunch of people in the outrage industry who try and get little clicks on their website. Jamila's an expert in this. Get little clicks on their website through confected outrage and trying to close down people who should have the right of freedom of speech.
The outrage. Jamila, you need to respond.
I'm trying to withhold my particular outrage on that jibe.
Yeah,
I think what we need to realise here is that the Immigration Minister, as an individual, has more power under the Migration Act than most ministers do. So in this case, when you're talking about visas being cancelled and granted and all the rest, the power that the minister has is actually the power to grant the visa when, under the conditions of the Migration Act, the person wouldn't have got the visa. Yes. So Chris Brown, for example, who's been discussed recently, he was found to be of not good enough character to be allowed to enter Australia on the broad brushstrokes rules. And the minister's come in and said yes or no. They have the power to grant, not to cancel. And I think you need to have that language right when you're talking about these things. This isn't about free speech. He's speaking right there. We can hear him. We can hear him on the internet. We can hear him on the television. Australia.
Why couldn't he stand in Sydney and Melbourne and say those things?
I think it was your old mate John Howard who said we have the right to decide who comes to this country in the circumstances in which they come.
Well, you're agreeing with Howard.
And the minister is allowed to say
we don't want this person.
You'll get punted from Mamma Mia agreeing with Howard.
Listen, I agree with that, but I agree with Mark too, because I agree with keeping David Irving out, because he was a person who went around encouraging people to believe there was no Holocaust, whatever. He did whip up enormous amounts of public interest, and that was before we had social media like we have it today. But I agree with Mark. I mean, it's like Lady Chatterley's Lover being banned in the 60s. Nobody knew what Lady Chatterley's Lover was down here, the book, and once they banned it, everybody wanted to read it.
Let me raise this point, though. Let me raise this point. So what if this man... and this is the risk, and look, I agree with most of what Mark's saying there, but what if this man comes out here, does a speech, someone listens to it, goes out there and attacks...
Which has happened before.
This is the whole point. He is inciting murder against abortionists, and on that reason alone, he shouldn't be allowed.
He's supported people that have gone out and actually executed
But all I know
abortion
is that his ideas have now got far... I didn't even know who he was. His ideas have now been channelled into every little corner of
the ideas are old
part
ideas.
Of the globe. Well, for you maybe, but not for most people watching this show.
That's his
Not for people watching this show.
But he actually denounced that point of view in his interview with Karl.
It's in his book, though.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, well, he's not here, with a reading of his book. He's going to give a speech. He's denounced those views.
Okay.
Why are you afraid of freedom of speech?
That's not my issue at all.
Surely you're intelligent enough to dismiss his point of view.
Somebody shoot a worker outside an abortion clinic?
Yes.
Did this just happen? So why would we be encouraging him to come in here if he's going to speak about hatred? And he's going to share those sort of views. We don't want them. They're bloody un-Australian. I don't want them here.
Well, that's fine. Hang on. But then where do we draw the line? Because if that's the case, you better go look at who's coming to Australia, and we'll have one of these every other minute.
True.
Once you start saying they can't come, they can't come, they can't come, go out and look at who can't come.
Well, you know what? Maybe they won't bother. If we set an example for once in our lives,
this is
just we start giving some tough love in this country.
Well, that's fine.
Setting
you
an
keep them all out,
example.
they'll still get their publicity.
We let Tasmanians
Well, they can have their publicity.
Tasmanians out.
No, I didn't quite
Maybe we can get Tasmanians out.
Tasmanians out of the main.
At the end of the day...
I'm Tasmania, I know it very well.
It was our choice to remove ourselves from the rest of you, so you may want to remember that.
Good job.
But the thing about Tasmania is it's never been able to function without central government on the mainland, even when the convicts were down there. It's all involved with gold rushes because they couldn't get a job in Tasmania.
At the end of the day, there's a big difference between freedom of speech. I think there's a big difference between freedom of speech and advocating extremism, which is what he's done. And he can say to Karl, I didn't mean that.
You've said things just as bad on the footy field, Campbell, about your opponents. Come on.
He's never incited violence.
I'll kill you, you bastard. I'll give it to you and all that. Come on.
Right, how'd the Hawks go, by the way? Okay, thank you, panellists. Up next, your chance at home and here in the studio to get a piece of the action. It could go anywhere, folks. We're back up. Well done.
A massive police operation was carried out across our city.
Night after night, we're there.
Footage shows Baha Jabbar meeting a group of young men.
Delivering Sydney's news from every possible angle.
Auburn's Deputy Mayor charged with intimidation.
An image and a moment that define the game.
Sydney's #1 is 9 News with Peter Overton, nightly at 6.
Think you can't get great looks for less? Think again at Big W. Think Tresemme 2-pack, $12.75. Think a better wink and a blink. Maybelline mascara, $10. Think unbeatable prices every day. Think big, Big W.
The bed match system at Snooze helps take the guesswork out of buying a bed. Right now, there's up to 25% off selected kids' beds and up to 30% off selected bedroom furniture at the Snooze Springtime Sale.
It's amazing what a little snooze can do.
Coming, baby, darling.
When life gets crazy, Compare the Market saves you the headache of shopping around for your car and health insurance. Go to comparethemarket.com.au now.
Oh, how about that? I'm happy with that. It's done.
Oh, mate.
Time for a beer.
Fantastic. Good work.
Try turning it more. How's that?
Good evening and welcome to Canada.
That's it, boys. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
From the original brothers who did to all those who do.
Well done, brother.
Here's to having a go.
It stands among the greatest TV dramas ever made. Praised by critics and loved by fans, The Walking Dead is a global phenomenon. But the story isn't over.
This is how we survive. We are the Walking Dead.
The brand new season of The Walking Dead, express from the US on FX. First on Foxtel. Catch up on seasons 1 to 5 now in Foxtel anytime.
Discoloration on your toenails can be the first signs of fungal nail. The Scholl foot experts recommend Scholl fungal nail treatment. The file removes the top layer and allows the advanced liquid to penetrate the nail. Act upon the early signs of fungal nail with Scholl fungal nail treatment.
How does Sour Patch taste? First they're sour. Then they're sweet.
Oh, thanks.
Sour Patch Jellies. Mad sour, mad sweet.
It's the little things. They go unnoticed by most. But they can change the race in a heartbeat. With racing's most advanced mobile app, CrownBet gives you better odds and a superior betting experience. CrownBet. The game just changed.
They're bold.
It's just stunning.
They're risky.
You could bath a dog in there.
They've never been seen before.
I have not seen that before.
Sunday, 7 o'clock. The block's bravest reveals ever.
Whoa, look at that. Back in the gentleman's club.
And it's D-Day for the B-Day.
It's perfect.
This is just ridiculous.
The block's bravest reveals ever. Sunday, 7 o'clock.
Welcome back, folks. Well, it's crunch time soon when our panellists bring down their final verdict. But first, you at home and our audience here in the studio can now ask anything about this week's big issues. So first up, a question from Karen from the podium over there.
Thanks, guys. Do you think reporting on terrorist attacks stops them, or does it create more fear in the public arena?
Right, Mark?
I think one of the problems Australia's got, it goes beyond the ideology and the welfare dependency, and that is the attention seekers. Clearly, Man Monis was an attention seeker, very confused, a lunatic in Martin Place. Why was he seeking attention? Because of Australia's faulty deployment in the Middle East. We're not actually solving the sectarian civil war there, and we're adding to, I think, the threat of terrorism at home, because we're creating a media sensation to which lunatic attention seekers can be drawn. So I think that side of it is faulty for Australia, and the sooner our government gets out of the Middle East, the better.
So you say if we don't fight those wars, then we won't get attacked?
Well, I don't think it's our business. It's not our business. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we would minimise the chance of attention seekers doing their worst if we weren't involved in a pointless deployment overseas.
There I disagree.
Okay.
Because it's an ideology, and we're infidels, so we'll be attacked whatever.
No, whatever. Okay, Michaela is on the podium. Hey, Michaela.
Hello. Do you think social media plays a crucial role in the development of mental illnesses in adolescents?
Jamila?
You know, that is such a good question. And we were actually just saying in the break before that Australia's laws, and I think as a community, we haven't caught up with our own technology yet, and the whole world's dealing with this. But technology's moved to this point, and now our law and our society is trying to desperately catch up. And for teenagers, I cannot even imagine what it would be like. I finished school just as social media started coming in, and I remember if there was a kid that was being picked on at school or bullied at school, you could go home and you could escape it. Now, kids cannot escape through their phone, through their computer, through their iPad. They are exposed to what's going on online and bullies at school 24 hours a day. And I don't think as a society yet we've fully come to grapple with what it's like for kids nowadays, because it's completely different.
Okay,
I think we're chasing our tail. I don't think society's matured enough to be able to handle the social media net that's going on, and that's bottom line. You know, I think
not the young ones.
Yeah,
not the young ones. The young ones
it's everyone. I just don't think that we've learned.
And as someone with a 60-year-old granddaughter who lives with me, and I've watched her over 3 years, social media is a real problem.
Okay, and perhaps
it also keeps them going. You know, it's needed.
Yeah, it is, and so it's perhaps something we could debate another week. Sure to come.
We'll get abused on social media.
Yes,
after.
No doubt we'll be getting abused
Indeed,
right now. Just have a look down your screen there. What's going on with Karl's hair? I'm just not sure. Thank you for all your questions. Remember, you can send us questions anytime on facebook.com/The Verdict or on Twitter using the hashtag The Verdict, and we'll debate social media, I'm sure, in the next couple of weeks. OK, the time has come. After the break, it's time for the panellists and you to deliver the final verdict. Stay right where you are. You are watching The Verdict right across Australia.
Australia's favourite larrikin in a premiere special. Hodes one night only. Coming up next on 9.
Homework is a waste of time. The parents disobeying teachers.
There's no academic benefit at all.
60 Minutes, Sunday.
This is iPhone 6S. Not much has changed, except it responds to the pressure of your finger. So you can peek into stuff and pop stuff open, which changes how you play a song, read a text, read an email, read the news. Wait, you read the news? Yep. Of course you do. Now you can change apps like this, get into a concert like this, and the new colour looks like this. It's rose gold, it's awesome. And Siri is more helpful than ever.
Hey Siri, show me photos of tortellini.
Here are some images of tortellini. Maybe get a takeaway. The camera shoots 4K video now, which changes how your movies look. Nice. Even selfies have changed. Now your screen is the flash. That's gonna get like 1 million likes. Thanks. Actually, photos themselves have changed. They move now. You just touch them. So yeah, that's what's changed.
Cooling off just got colourful at Hungry Jack's. With 5 frozen flavours, all large and all just $1.
Rusty's just had his monthly flea protection. Comfortus, a chewable tablet, starts killing fleas in just 30 minutes. For immediate relief and month-long protection and your chance to win some fast cash, buy Comfortus from your vet clinic or pet store today.
There's nothing like feeling the cares of the day gently slipping away. There's nothing like feeling life's rhythm slow to a calm, comforting stillness. There's nothing like the security of feeling supported, night after night, year after year. And there is nothing like falling asleep on a Sealy Posturepedic, Australia's favourite mattress.
A whole lot of saving is what we'll be bringing. We'll make you happy. Come on, get savvy. Come on, get savvy.
Hay fever allergies are back. Itchy eyes, sneezing. Thankfully, there's Zyrtec tablets. They provide 24-hour relief and start to work faster than Claritine tablets for hay fever relief. Zyrtec, serious about hay fever allergies.
She's a hard-working nurse.
No mucking around from the nurse from the cardiac unit.
Tomorrow on Battlers Week, Anne's in the hot seat and he's on a winning streak.
Correct.
Now, can this deserving Aussie battler win the big money?
Anne's on a roll.
New hot seat, tomorrow 5:30 on 9.
This program brought to you by Budget Direct, winner of CanStar's Outstanding Value Car Insurance 9 years in a row. Get a quote today.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Well, tonight we've been trashing out a whole host of hot topics. Now it's time to get off the fence and deliver the final verdict. Firstly, was rejecting Chris Brown and Troy Newman's visa politically motivated? Panellists, time to fire up. What is your verdict? Here we go. Yeah, right. Everyone's agreeing?
Yep.
You wouldn't have guessed that from the discussions.
Oh, no, well, I had no idea about that. Are you going to start to presume stuff about this show? OK, clearly cut there. Next up is the community over-diagnosing mental illness. Panellists, what is your verdict on that one? Mark Latham.
The lone wolf.
Stand alone.
The Lone Ranger.
Stand alone. No,
Clarify your
supported by experts and evidence.
Mark.
As ever.
There's an expert sitting next to you.
No, she's got a vested interest.
I'll prove that.
it still
that's
goes
just
on.
a stupid statement.
No, it's not.
It's ill-informed. It's just an ill-informed...
Will we continue this after the program?
Just one more,
It's
just
got
to
you
clarify,
worked up.
Jackie, any further comment on that one?
No, but you should actually listen to what this woman's got to say for once in your life, Mark, and probably get back in your box.
Oh, poor Mark.
I'll take an appointment for him.
And finally, all week on 9, jumpin.com.au/The Verdict, we've been asking you, should sports stars found guilty of a crime be allowed back on the field? Firstly, your verdict at home, though. Here we go. But do our panellists feel the same way? Bring on the countdown. Here we go.
But.
Okay, clarifying.
So I'm saying yes, but each of the codes, as an individual code, should be making decisions about the message they want to send.
I'm confused about your message.
Yes, I am too.
My message is
I'm saying if it's an indictable offence, they shouldn't be allowed back on.
Agreed.
If it causes grievous bodily harm at any level, bashing a wife, bashing a partner, sexual assault, armed robbery, they should not be allowed on.
Well, the good news is you're both wrong.
What did you say then?
The good news is they're both wrong.
Oh, right. Why is that?
Well,
No
society has
explanation required.
punishments. Society has punishments. Since when has a sporting club been a court of law?
All right,
It's just ridiculous.
The debates are over, Mark. The debates are over for another week. The good news is you can go home and get a good night's
Have some
sleep.
therapy.
Make sure you charge him double.
I
don't
will
worry
charge
about
him
that.
double.
And-
Heal thyself.
I'm rocking beautifully.
The other good news, we got through a whole show of the verdict without Campbell,
about offence.
Campbell taking off his shirt. All right, Sandy just said that might heat things up. Anyway, thank you to everyone for taking part this week. You'll find another question on Jump In next Monday. And if you'd like to be in our audience next Thursday, head to our Facebook page. Thank you to Al, Mark, Sandy, Jamila, Jacqui and Campbell. That's the show for this week. I'll see you on the Today Show tomorrow morning. And we'll be back next week to deliver The Verdict. Take care.